Welcome back to Blind Boys Politics. It's Nicholas Chris Baker here with you on this Monday morning for another round of news. Chris, as always, like we usually do, start us off by giving us today's weather report.
In Los Angeles, California, it is partly cloudy, 71. In Houston, Texas, it is partly cloudy and 89. In Chicago, Illinois, it is partly cloudy, 47. And in New York City, it is partly cloudy and 63. So the moral of the story, it is partly cloudy all the way across the board and all pretty decent temperatures besides if you're in Chicago.
What I'm hearing is a pretty nice day, pretty nice Monday.
See, these are the reports meteorologists like myself like to report. We don't like the snow, the rain, sleet, hail, tornadoes, earthquakes. We don't like reporting them. We like sunny, partly cloudy, mostly sunny.
Well, yeah, because it's nice and positive and it brings the mood up.
And I'm calling myself a meteorologist, which is a story for itself.
Yeah, I won't even get into that one, but yeah.
So, Nick, typically on a Monday morning we go weather, intro, and talk of the talk. But this week I have quite an extensive talk of the talk. I think it's going to be quite extensive.
Okay.
If it's going to go the way I think it's going to go. So we're going to just skip right over the intro, and I'm going to get right into the talk of the talk. So, Nick, I know you're a big coffee drinker. I don't think you're a Starbucks fan. I don't know if you go to Starbucks much. But do you go to Starbucks? We'll start there.
I have, to be fully honest, I've never stepped foot into a Starbucks, and it's not because of my hate for it. It's because of the pure fact that I'm never near a Starbucks to go into one.
So, I'm sure you've been in a Dunkin' Donuts or coffee.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What is your order?
My order for Dunkin' Donuts tends to be very simple. I'll usually go either just normal hot coffee, cream and sugar, or I'll do French vanilla.
How many sugars, how many creams? Are you specific? Will you hold them to their standard of I want this, that? Are you kind of whatever?
No, I don't have like a specific number for any of them. To be honest, usually I won't even do sugar. I'll just do cream, and even that's just like a little bit.
Okay. So the reason I'm asking you, Nick, is because as you know, I'm not a very good big coffee drinker. I'm more Pepsi, but when I do drink coffee, I have iced coffee and I make it at home. I've never bought coffee from anywhere. The only time I've gotten Dunkin' Donuts coffee is when it was free. So, I figured you would be the person to ask about your coffee order.
Right.
Seems like your coffee order is very simple.
Tends to be. I don't venture off into like the different lattes and all the more complicated orders, to be honest with you. I'm pretty simple when it comes to that.
Well, the reason I ask you this is because on Twitter, a Starbucks barista tweeted on today's episode of why I want to quit my job, and then it showed a picture of someone's Starbucks order. Well, you gotta wonder what is in this coffee order. Well, there was 15 different instructions for this one coffee. 15. Okay? And this went freaking viral on Twitter.
Oh my God.
And
I have so
people
many
were
things to
commenting and said, of course it's an online order because no one could say this to their face of what they wanted without getting punched in the face. And then another Starbucks barista commented, this order comes in every other week. Well, Nick, I bet you want to know what this order is.
I would love to know.
2 bananas, 2 something. I don't even know what half of these are. 1 something added shot, casserona topping, pump honey blend, coconut powder, pump ginger syrup, pump of chocolate powder, pump of caramel sauce, 2 pumps of sweet vanilla, 2 added frap chips, only 2, a pump of classic syrup, a pump of toffee nut syrup, pump pumpkin sauce, double blended pump white mocha, 2 patches powder, 1 pump raspberry syrup, 1 pump of Saint Jean Dolisa, 2 pumps of vanilla powder, extra sheen powder, pumpkin hazelnut syrup, extra nutmeg powder, 2 shots of extra caramel drizzle, extra mocha drizzle, extra whip, extra ice, and extra pumpkin topping. Now, this is in a large coffee, and the paper of instructions is longer than the size of the coffee.
I could rant, honestly, for 20 minutes about this alone. But my simple question is why? Why does this exist?
And it doesn't stop there. So the original person that said, reason why I want to quit my job, his name was Henry on the receipt. So hashtag Henry was trending on Twitter.
Yep.
And then someone commented, former barista here, one time someone asked me for 27 pumps of vanilla. She watched me count every single one when she informed me I was 1 pump over and had to restart the coffee.
I don't understand how people can become so complicated with their coffee orders. Guys, I've been drinking coffee my entire life. It's a part of my everyday life. And I don't understand how anyone, any lover of coffee, can go to lengths like this.
That doesn't end the internet. This is making my financial heart just pound.
Yeah, okay.
Someone spent $22 on a medium coffee.
No. Just
on this order.
No.
Someone asked for this with a straight face. Black tea, 6 pumps chai, six pumps honey blend, vanilla heavy cream with coconut milk, foam cinnamon powder, light ice, no water, then something, ice black tea, 6 pumps, chai, 6 pumps, honey blended, heavy cream with coconut milk, cinnamon powder extra, light ice, and it repeats itself in 3 different coffees with different variations.
I don't understand how people can do stuff like this. I don't even understand the people that will say that they're drinking coffee. In reality, though, they put half or more than half of like the flavored creamers, French vanilla, hazelnut, whatever it is, and then like 25 to 40% coffee. That's not coffee. I'm sorry, but it's not. But then to go to places like this and have 15 instructions, and let me just say, I don't know if it felt like it to you reading it, but I know listening to you read off all of that original order, that sounded like more than 15 instructions.
Oh, for sure. I felt like a lot more than 15. And you know, with every argument, Nick, there's varying sides to every argument.
Oh, of course.
This person tweeted, orders with more than 8 charges should automatically charge a tip for the barista, like what they do when you go to a restaurant with a large group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Another person tweeted, people who don't enjoy making customized coffees, drinks, shouldn't work where people come to buy customized coffee. If I agree to pay a ridiculous price, I get to ask for ridiculous coffee.
I mean, how...
And then someone tweeted, please, I'm begging Starbucks to just simply let their workers say no to overcomplicated orders.
I like the tip idea. If you're going to have these workers fulfill 15 instructions, 20 instructions, like these insane amount of things they have to do to make your drink, that should be a tip. There should definitely be a tip on that. That's insane.
Well, what I have to say is, assuming you get this coffee every single day, $22 your
Oh my
coffee
god,
is like
yeah.
that one person. That is $8,030 a year. I know Keurigs, you can buy a pack of like 24 of them for like $10 at the store.
Mm.
And you can buy your own toppings and make it yourself.
And K-cups are wonderful. I love
Um,
K-cups. They're so simple.
you can get a nice creamer for like $2 to $3 that will last you
Yeah.
probably a week and a half.
Yeah.
You can get your caramel drizzle for like $1.50. You can get the syrup things for in little bottles for like $5 that will last you probably 2 months. So right here, I'm saving you money. Stop. Just why?
$22 for a single cup of coffee. I
And
could
15 instructions.
with
15
15 instructions.
freaking instructions.
And $22, mind you, if you're like a normal coffee drinker, like myself, you're not putting all these extra things in, $22 will buy you multiple cans, bags, whatever you're getting as far as your coffee is concerned. It'll get you multiple good brands, good brand quality coffee that'll
You could
last
also
you
do?
for months.
Buy a Mr. Coffee maker for $25. Go to the grocery store, buy a big can of Folgers coffee for $19, and then you are good for the next 2 months.
Yeah, but again, if you want like higher quality, more pristine brand name coffee, $22 will get you enough to last you quite a long time. $22 on a single cup is ridiculous.
So, fun fact, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
If I ever worked at Starbucks,
Yep.
and I had a list of 15 things I had to do,
Yeah.
and then they informed me I put one too many pumps of vanilla in it and I needed to restart, that coffee would go into their car and I would walk away.
I honestly would. I'd probably quit my job. Anyone that can deal with that.
I wouldn't have to quit. I would get fired because I threw the coffee in their car and walked away.
Yeah, I'm honestly anyone who can work as a barista or anyone in like these food related fields where you get this amount, like these numbers of instructions, and you're held to those instructions to the T. Just bravo.
My family, just about every person in my family at some point have worked in the food industry.
Mm-hmm.
And they all say the same thing. It is a learning curve and it is a great life lesson on how to handle your patients.
Yeah, anyone that can deal with that, good on you. I congratulate you because I know I couldn't. I know I could never.
You know what? If I went to Starbucks and I wanted, in my opinion, you're an asshole if you get 15 things for a barista that's making minimum wage and then you tell her to remake the whole freaking coffee, you're an asshole. If I was that person, I would be tipping dearly. My coffee costs $22, you're getting a $22 tip. Apparently, I can afford it.
Yeah, it's just insane. It's honestly insane to me. To anyone that can pull that off and keep that job for an extended period of time, just good on you. You're a hero all in itself. Because there's no way I could ever do that. And to anyone that's ordering $22 coffee, why? Why are you doing that? What? No.
Now, Nick, before my blood pressure gets too much higher about the financial stupidity there,
Mm-hmm.
get into the news. Why don't you?
Yeah. Let's switch
We'll
gears over.
Chris's blood pressure.
All right, yeah. I think it's time to move into the news for this week. We've got a bunch of things to get out of the way here. So we start off today with our normal Monday COVID-19 update. On Thursday, we had the lowest number of cases reported by the CDC in a single day for the past 7 months. This was about 42,000 cases. 57% of adults in the US have received at least one dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. Pfizer has applied for emergency approval for their COVID-19 vaccine for children ages 12 to 15. And California, Illinois, and Minnesota have released their guidelines for reopening. There will be an article about those guidelines coming tomorrow morning.
Keeping with the COVID-19 topic, Pfizer has submitted their formal request to the FDA to gain full regulatory approval of its COVID-19 vaccine for Americans aged 16 and up. So what is different between emergency use authorization and full FDA approval? To be honest, not a lot. Besides the big factor is there's more data available now. After the vaccine application is approved for the EUA or emergency use authorization, and full vaccine approval require 3-phase clinical trials with tens of thousands of participants to determine the safety and effectiveness. The EUA required 2 months of follow-up data after the trial, then full approval requires 6 months, which Pfizer now has.
Of course, in addition to manufacturing and chemical information and data, they need to prove that the benefits of the vaccine outweigh any of the other risks. Pfizer will continue to provide rolling data to the FDA over the next coming weeks, and the company has requested priority review of its full approval application from the FDA. It's unclear if the FDA is going to grant full priority review, but it certainly may, because FDA emergency use authorization for all the COVID-19 vaccines will expire when the pandemic is over. For regulatory review, this process could take months.
Looking at a different vaccine, if you have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and have had dizziness, nausea, or even fainting, the CDC says it actually has nothing to do with the COVID-19 vaccine. It's your anxiety. The CDC issued a new report investigating dozens of reports of these reactions at 5 different mass vaccination sites in the United States in the month of April. Out of the 8,400 people who received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine at the 5 sites during that time, only 64 people experienced those anxiety-related symptoms. Things like dizziness, nausea, lightheadedness, excessive sweating, fainting, and low blood pressure.
61% of the people that experienced these symptoms were women, and the median age was 36. 20% of those patients told the staff that they had a history of fainting associated with injections or from being scared of needles. Most of the symptoms resolved themselves within 15 minutes, but a few people did need to be hospitalized for a further evaluation, and then they were released a short time afterwards. The report only looked at these anxiety-related reactions after getting the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, though the CDC said anxiety-related events can happen after any type of vaccine.
A federal grand jury has indicted all 4 former officers in the homicide of George Floyd on civil rights violation after a Justice Department investigation. Count 1 against Derek Chauvin says he took away George Floyd's constitutional right to be free from an unreasonable seizure, which includes the right to be free from the use of unreasonable force by a police officer, specifically because Chauvin's knee was on Floyd's neck and back for more than 9 minutes. And the second count indicts Tu Powell and Alexander King on violating George Floyd's constitutional right because they willingly failed to intervene to stop defendant Chauvin's use of unreasonable force. The third count indicts all four, including Thomas Lane, for violating Floyd's constitutional rights to receive first aid to Floyd while in police custody because all of them willingly failed to aid Floyd, thereby acting with deliberate interference to a substantial risk of harm to Floyd.
If you were wondering, no, these charges have no impact on the state charges Powell, Lane, and King are still facing. No, this is also not double jeopardy against Derek Chauvin. These are separate and different charges from the federal government, which is allowed under a Supreme Court ruling. The other three officers are waiting to go to trial for the state charges, which is expected to begin in late August. If convicted on these federal charges, these men could be looking at additional time and penalties.
Transitioning into voting laws, Texas went into the early morning Friday debating before passing new voting laws. The holdup from passing them much earlier in the day was Democrats were threatening to apply hundreds of amendments. At the end of the session, early Friday morning, Republicans reached a deal with Democrats, watering down parts of the bill. It passed 81 to 64, and what is in the bill gives partisan poll watchers more power and also makes it easier to remove poll watchers if needed, along with bans unsolicited mail-in ballots. While the bill was being debated, protesters marched outside the Texas Capitol building. The protesters argue that it disproportionalizes women and Black voters. Republicans say the bill make their election more safe, and Democrats say the bill is only a falsehood of the so-called rigged election from 2020.
Texas isn't the only state that passed new voting laws. Florida did the same. Republican Governor Ron DeSantis signed the bill live only for Fox News. What does this law do? It limits mail-in voting. It requires you to reapply for mail-in ballots every 2 years. It restricts drop box voting. And it requires Floridians to show their ID for mail-in voting. This law prompted several civil rights lawsuits, including from the NAACP.
For those of you who are keeping track so far on what states have changed their voting laws since the 2020 election, Florida passed the election law on May 6th. The Texas bill is expected to pass early this week, and Ohio has also proposed an election bill that would limit drop box voting and mail-in voting. Once there is more information about the Ohio bill and any other states, we will be sure to keep you updated.
Moving away from that, there's some news about a school shooting in Idaho. On Thursday, a 6th grade girl opened fire in her school. And yes, you heard me correctly. It was a 6th grade girl. 2 students, as well as a custodian, were shot. Then a teacher stepped in that has been identified on social media as Christina Knighting. The injuries are not life-threatening, and investigators are still trying to figure out a motive and how she got hold of a gun.
The Social Security Administration released the top baby names for 2020. For girls, it was Olivia, Emma, and Ava, and for boys, it was Liam, Oliver, and Noah. And one name that has had a major decline is Alexa. Nick, let's get into some rapid news.
All right, so first off, President Biden's press secretary, Jen Psaki, is expected to step down in about a year.
The New York Attorney General is expanding the investigation into the Cuomo administration. Nick, your time to shine. What do you got for good news this Monday morning?
All right, for this Monday morning good news segment, I figured I'd share a story from, a pretty great connection between teacher and student. So, the second grade boy, he ended up being diagnosed with leukemia, and this was back even before the pandemic started. And so he had to stay home. He was kept out of class, and he actually would join the class on Zoom before, like I said, this was before the pandemic. So even before, Zoom was well known. But once the pandemic started, it really kind of started to isolate him from his class and school and all that. So this teacher took it upon herself to start driving to his house after school, 20-minute drive, to teach him right at his house. They would make sure to follow, strict health safety guidelines. She'd wear a mask and face shield. He'd wear a mask, and they do it. There would be a piece of plexiglass in between them across the table. But she would make sure to go over there almost every day to make sure that he never fell behind with his learning. If he wasn't feeling very well, then he would get days off, but she would do whatever she had to make sure that he got his education. And after a while, the mom even said in the article, she became part of the family. It almost became, she said, less like a teacher coming over to teach and more like an aunt coming over to hang out almost. But the teacher, she said that, she could tell how enthusiastic he was to learn and how much he loved to learn new things. So she took it upon herself to take the extra time and make the effort to make sure that he always stayed up to date with his learning.
Yeah. It's really sad that, he's sick, was sick, still sick. And that's the last thing. I mean, for when a kid is sick, to get fallen behind in school. I mean, once you're behind, especially when you're sick, you're never going to catch up.
Especially in the long term.
And then for a teacher to go out of her way, take a 20-minute drive to help this kid just about every day with his school. And then, it became so repetitive. It wasn't a teacher coming to the house. It was almost like an aunt coming to the house to help hang out. I really like that because that's what, you need is a good relationship with your teachers, especially if you're sick. Even if you're not sick, you need that good relationship.
Right.
But it's all the more when you're having difficult things going on in your life. So bravo to that teacher. Bravo to that kid that's eager to learn, eager not to let leukemia to get into his way. Bravo to both of them. Bravo to the whole family, really.
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's just nice to see these connections, like I said, between teacher and student, because sometimes it can be very different. Kids who are out long term with illness end up falling way behind because they just don't have that connection point between them and their teachers to really get the help that they need or find the right method to still get their education. So to see this, especially for a young student, it's really nice to see across the board.
Well, great story, Nick. Love the good news. If you haven't seen it, Nick released a Good News Saturday. I think that's what we're going to start calling it. Good News Saturday.
Yeah.
Once a month, Nick is going to be releasing a whole episode all about good news. So make sure if you haven't listened to that, it's a great, uplifting, makes me happy when I listen to it. But until then, until Wednesday morning for another Dumb Law, make sure you follow us on all social medias, especially the Blind Boys Politics Twitter account for the latest 24-hour breaking news. So you're always in the know. Follow us on our personal accounts to see what we're up to. But until Wednesday morning, like I said, have a great start to your week, everybody.
See you later.